Hello friends, I'm here today to share with you my September wrap-up. I have already filmed this once and the autofocus was gone on my phone, and now it's made me nervous, so we're filming on my iPad again. Starting off the month, I read Waylaid by Serena Bowen. This is the last book in her True North series. This one is Ricky and Daphne. It's a new adult roommate. Ricky, they have met previously, but Ricky has amnesia from the time, or memory loss from the time when they met, and Ricky is the reason I couldn't give the book before this 5 stars, because I was absolutely just drawn to his character. And this one definitely lived up to the hype, so I gave this one 5 stars. Oh yeah, I meant to say in the intro, I had a lot of 5-star books this month. I was really loving everything that I read. So continuing on with a 5-star book was Only You by Samantha Young. This one is the last in her Adair family series. This is a second chance romance between Broden and what's her name? Monroe. They did not end on the best of terms, and several years later are both brought back to their hometown by a family, and they're they're thrown together because Broden is a famous actor, and he kind of gets voluntold by his, I think it was one of the nephews, to help with his school play, and then Monroe is actually the nephew's teacher. After that, I decided to pick up a monster romance, and I read The Hunter by Jenica Snow. This is a retelling of Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf, but he is actually a wolf, or was he a wolf or werewolf? I don't quite remember, but I gave this one 3 stars because it felt a little more forced than book 1 was The Beast. I really enjoyed that, but this one felt a little more forced, and I didn't love it. Next up was a book I read because I'm going to Vegas at the end of October, and so I wanted to read a Married in Vegas, so I chose Waking Up in Vegas by Natasha Preston. This one is about Ren and Brody. They are there for Ren's brother, who is Brody's best friend, his birthday, I think it was, and there's a bit of an age gap between them, and they wind up married, and then when they get back home to England, they're trying to process how to go about getting a divorce when nobody knows that they're married. Yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was really good, but they had this dislike thing at the beginning, which I'm normally a fan of, but I didn't feel like they had a reason to be disliking each other. It was all just really superficial stuff, not even just about their looks and stuff, but it didn't have any depth to it. So yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. A big letdown was I wanted to finish this, what's it called? Willow Creek Valley series by Corinne Michaels. It's been a really long time since I read a Corinne Michaels, and I couldn't have told you why before reading this, but so I read A Moment for Us. Like I said, this is by Corinne Michaels. This one is about Joshua and I just looked up her name, Delia. And Delia has always had a crush on Joshua, and he has only kind of sort of reciprocated, but he feels like he is not good enough for her, and he was kind of mean in some of the things that he said to her to try to get her to not have a crush on him. And yeah, I gave this one 3 stars. I did not really enjoy it. But even worse than that, because I don't normally talk about books that I DNF'd, but I want to call this series done. I DNF'd A Chance for Us, because this woman wanted, I don't even remember their names, the female main character wanted the male main character, they were friends in college, she wanted him to pretend to be her groom for her wedding, because he had the same name as her fiance that dumped her, because she only wanted to get married because her dad was sick. And I didn't like the way that she kind of just forced it on him. She asked, but she didn't really ask. And then people around him kept giving him a hard time for saying no, and I'm like, that's the logical thing to do. It's not fun and it's not cute. He feels trapped to do this, and yeah, so I DNF'd to this one, but I'm calling this series done. Next, I finished a duet that I started reading in August, and I read Cruel Master by Lucy Smoke and AJ Macy. This one, so book one is it's kind of an arranged marriage, but they don't get married until right at the very end. So I guess an arranged engagement would be the best way to describe it. But right at the end of book one, they get married, and then something happens, so she runs away. And in this one, it is her on the run and her husband trying to find her. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I liked it a lot. As with most duets, I don't understand why it was split, but I did really like it. Next up was another 5-star read. I read Where You Belong by Nicole Baker. This one is a single dad nanny romance. The main male character's mother usually watches his daughter, but she has had an accident, and so him and his family don't feel like it wouldn't be safe to leave his daughter with her. I think she broke her foot or something. And so his family owns this like wine distribution company, and he hires one of his friends, or one of his like the people they do business with suggests his daughter's friend that's there from college for the summer. So it was an age gap single dad nanny romance. I gave it 5 stars. It was so good. Like the majority of booktube, I gave 5 stars to Reckless by Elsie Silver. This one is Winter and Theo. They have an accidental pregnancy after a one-night stand, and since Theo is part of the rodeo circuit, he leaves pretty soon afterwards before Winter finds out about the pregnancy, and when she tries to reach out to him, his phone is taken by his he's given his phone to his management company to handle everything, and they don't tell him, so it is a shock for him. I think the baby was like 6 or 7 months old, because it's before Winter goes back to work from her maternity leave. Theo comes back to Chestnut Springs and sees this baby that looks exactly like him, and it had really good scenes of him trying to like make up for the fact that he didn't know and that he wasn't there, and it was so cute. I also read The Love Plot by Samantha Young. This one I ended up giving 3 stars. It's about a veterinarian who he's a little bit uptight. He meets this kind of more free-spirited woman and asks her to pretend to be his girlfriend so that his family will like stop trying to set him up on dates because they're a very affluent family. Yeah, so it was a fake dating, opposites attract, which should have been like my holy grail, but I really disliked these characters. Both of them were very judgmental, even the girl who said that she wasn't judgmental and that she was trying to be open about people and their experiences, but she kind of shut him down just as much as he shut her down for not being as uptight as he was. So yeah, I did not like either of these characters, so I gave it 3 stars. I ended up giving 4 stars to both Peacekeeper and Rebel by Laura Pavlov. I wanted to finish out this Montgomery Brothers series. I think I've given 5 stars to every single book in this series, and this one was no different. I read The Unwanted Marriage by Katharina Mara. This is book 3 in her Windsor series. This one is Dion and Faye. They have known that they are going to be put into this arranged marriage for a really long time, but Faye is younger than Dion, and so he has spent most of his adult life in London away from her, trying to give her time to finish college and kind of live her own life until they're expected to get married. And that time has finally come where he's got to come back home. And they knew each other a little bit when he was like his late teens and she was in her early to mid-teens. But they don't really know who each other are as adults. And Faye has this father who is very abusive, and he's kind of manipulated and kind of groomed her into being Dion's like perfect woman. But it's not really the perfect woman for Dion. It's what her dad thinks that he should want. So there's a lot of like abusive parent talk from when we get Faye's perspective. She doesn't really ever tell anybody until closer to the end when Dion kind of starts to suspect. But yeah, like I said, I think I've given all of these books 5 stars. This one was no different. It was so good. And then I read these 3 books from the Wildcat series by Rebecca Jinchak. So book 1 is Wildcat. I do not remember their names, but basically a professional hockey player meets this girl at a bar and then realizes that that is his coach's daughter. I gave this one 4 stars. Book 2, Wild About You, is another professional hockey player. His teenage sister comes to live with him, and he doesn't really know how to help her process everything that has happened at home. And so one day when she gets in trouble at school, he goes to the school to talk with the teacher and realizes that one of her teachers is his ex-girlfriend that he kind of left behind when he went to be a professional hockey player. And so he asked her for help getting his sister not really under control, but kind of getting to understand her better and understand where she's coming from. And so I gave this one 5 stars. I loved this one. And then the third book is Wild Ever After. This one is another professional hockey player on that same team, and the best friend of the girl in book 1. She is a journalist. She works at this magazine where she has planned this whole wedding, and then her fiance dumps her because it was kind of her idea to pretend to have this wedding, and then it got all blown out of proportion. And so she is kind of in a panic. It's the night of her bachelorette party, like a week before the wedding. I think maybe not even a week before the wedding. And due to the friend, the girl in book 1, dating the hockey guy, they're always kind of around each other. And he offers to step in as her groom to get married to her so that she can throw this wedding, that she can write these articles and live this life that she has always wanted. And I gave this one 4 stars, mostly because I didn't really understand what was in it for him. He's kind of just talking about how he's thinking about life after hockey, but I don't understand how a fake wedding could have helped that, so I gave this one 4 stars. I also read Knockout by Sarah Mclean. This is in her Hell's Bells series. This one is Imogen and Thomas. Imogen is kind of the pyrotechnic of the Hell's Bells group. She deals a lot with explosions and stuff like that. And one of my favorite historical tropes is when the main male character is like a law enforcement or some type of like Scotland Yard detective, and he is trying to like solve this series of crimes, and then he realizes that the main female character is the one that's committing all of these crimes. Like it makes my heart happy, and that's exactly what happened in this one. He's trying to solve all these bombings, and it's Imogen's group. But yeah, I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. After that, I read Glimmers of You by Catherine Cowles. This is in her Lost and Found series. This one is Gray and Caden. They both had crushes on each other when they were younger, and then after a health scare, after he loses his sister, after Gray's health scare, after Caden loses his sister in a pretty traumatic way, he doesn't have the best reaction and he leaves town. But now, due to the events in the previous books, he has returned. He's also working through some family things, and one day, Gray does not give him the best reception when he returns home. But one day he sees her kind of being bothered by this guy that she's gone on a couple of dates with, who won't like accept that they're not going on any more dates. And Katie kind of steps in and says like, hey, that's my girlfriend, we're back together, we were trying to keep it a secret, but if you're gonna be messing with her, then it's not gonna be a secret anymore. And so Gray kind of goes along with it, that they are together, and then it was only supposed to be like that little bitty secret, but then her whole entire family finds out, so they kind of decide that they'll pretend to date for a little while before they break up. but we all know that fake datings they don't break up. I also read A False Start by Elsie Silver. This is the last book in her Gold Rush Ranch series. This one is Griffin and Nadia. Griffin he's been in the rest of the books, but he's kind of been, he's more of a he's more of a recluse character, so he's kind of been in the books a little bit, but not like a lot. But he and Nadia met, I think it was a couple of years before the start of this book. They met in a bar bathroom and they had this moment, and then they realize that, or Nadia realizes that Griffin is her brother's best friend, and she doesn't want to do anything to jeopardize that relationship for her brother, because they didn't have the greatest upbringing. And so she really is like, wants her brother to be able to have that friend. And now it's a couple years later and they can't really fight their attraction for each other anymore. But there is a bit of an age gap. I don't remember exactly how many years it was, but it was quite a significant number. Like, I would say like 8 to 10, somewhere in there. And Nadia is more college age, and so Griffin is older and kind of more like established adult. But one of the things I really loved is there is a third act breakup. They do separate for quite a significant amount of time, but Griffin kind of pushes Nadia into going to vet school and accomplishing her dream, while also letting her know that he is there to support her and he's waiting for her. And it was very sweet. I can't say it very often, I love a third act breakup. I like them enough to not complain about the trope, but this one just did it so well. I loved this third act breakup. I really think that it helped establish them as a like soulmate couple for me, if that makes sense. But yeah, I loved this one. I gave it 5 stars. I also picked up the audiobook for That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming, yes. This is book 1 in the Mead Mishaps series. And this is I don't know, like a cozy fantasy. Is that a thing? I'm sure it is. A cozy fantasy romance book where this woman is on her way home from this like festival that her little town or village or whatever hosts, and then she comes across this like landslide with somebody stuck underneath it, and so she saves this guy and then realizes that he's a demon, which is the festival that the town had was sending somebody to like, go like fight the demons. And he kind of shows her all of the different things that her people have wrong about the demons and where they came from and their goddess, and that kind of stuff. And so she agrees to help him fight the goddess because her family is cinnamon farmers, and so cinnamon like breaks the hold that the demons are under to where they are like more normal people. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. It was super cute. There was a little bit of the world building that I didn't quite understand, and I think had maybe not none of the world building, but a little bit less of the world building. There was a little bit of part where I was focused on that and I couldn't get my mind to just focus on the romance, which is what I would rather have done. So yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. My last 5-star read of the month, and probably my favorite, was Redeemed by Lauren Asher. This is book 4 in her Dirty Air series. This is Formula One romance, but it's not really, because this one is Santiago, and he is a Formula One driver, but at the beginning of this one, during an accident in a race, Santiago is very badly injured, and he they end up having to amputate his right leg, and so, as you can imagine, so he does not process that news very well, and he kind of goes into hiding in his home in Italy. He does get a prosthetic leg, but he's kind of ashamed of it, almost, to be going from this like super great on track to be a world champion Formula One driver to somebody who can't drive a car, it's a lot to process for him, and he doesn't handle it the best. And he's very mean when he first meets Chloe. She comes to Italy because she thinks she has finally found her birth father, and it's the guy that lives right next to Santiago, and so she's kind of trying to sneak into his house, but she accidentally sneaks into Santiago's, and he like finds her and thinks she's a reporter trying to get a story on him, because he's been in hiding since the accident. It's very grumpy sunshine. She has a super positive outlook on life, even though really bad things have happened to her in her life. And then he, who led a more privileged life, this one bad thing has happened to him, and he has kind of not handled it well. And so it was really nice to see the differences of how you can react to something that happens to you. But yeah, I gave some 5 stars. This was such an emotional romance. They deal a lot with her past and then his accident and him not having a leg and how he perceives his manhood about not having that. But yeah, I absolutely loved this book. Okay, we're almost there, I promise. 3 more books. I read The Brazen by Willa Nash, Devney Perry. This is her book 3, I think, in her Calamity Montana series. This one is Kerrigan and Pierce. Kerrigan is kind of running this kind of real estate empire thing in the small town of Calamity, but her benefactor has passed away. It was this older gentleman that she felt this like grandfather relationship with. Well, his actual grandson gets all of his business and everything in his will, and so he comes to town to tell Kerrigan that she is like past due on her loan, and then he wants payment, or he's gonna take whatever it was that was her collateral. I forget what it was. I think it was her house or something. But she does not have that money. They end up getting snowed in at this cabin together, and he feels this really draw to her. But he and his grandfather did not have the best relationship for good reason. That was a really weird reason too. I'm not gonna spoil it, but that was weird. But yeah, he ends up kind of trying to work with her and give her a little bit more time, and she sees that he's not as grumpy of a guy as she originally thought, and they're connected that way. I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked it, but I think I just read so many other 5-star books that I just couldn't quite bring myself to give this one 5 stars. I also read King of Wrath by Anna Huang. This one is an arranged marriage between Vivian and Dante. Dante is this super well-known businessman, and Vivian's father kind of finds out some blackmail about Dante's brother, and uses it to convince Dante that he should marry his daughter because that will connect the family, so her father's business will be enhanced by being related to Dante. And Dante is not happy about that. He's not happy about being blackmailed, and he's not happy about his brother being the cause of it. But Vivian doesn't really know why Dante has agreed to the wedding. She sees how it benefits her family, but she doesn't really see how or why he would agree to it. But yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was a really good arranged marriage romance. And the last one that I want to talk about, I don't know that I would, technically, I guess there's a romance in it, and it does in sort of a happily ever after for this couple. But I really think the majority of the book is used to kind of further the plot of this series, and that is Deep Redemption by Tilly Cole. This is book 4. Yeah, this is book 4 in her Hades Hangman series, which is a series about this motorcycle club that starts trying to fight and break down this religious cult. This one had parts that were very hard to read. I don't know that I would recommend this book to many people. I did give it 4 stars, but so I'm just gonna spoil this book. So if you don't care or don't want to know, this is the last book, so you can probably just click off the video. But so this one is about Ryder, which is what he's known as in the motorcycle club. But I think it's the end of book 2, we find out that he is actually part of this religious cult that was sent in like undercover to the motorcycle club. And he is actually supposed to be the heir to the prophet. He's supposed to be the next prophet. But in the third book, the one before this, his brother kind of takes him captive, and his twin brother kind of takes him captive, takes his place. Everybody thinks that they're following him, but they're really following the evil twin brother. So it starts off when he is like locked in, he's imprisoned by this cult, and they bring this woman into the like cell next to him, and he have this little hole in the wall where they are talking to each other and getting to know each other, and he starts to develop feelings for her, and she starts to develop feelings for him. Well, then he tells her who he is, and she tells him that she was brought there because she was in the same group as, that she was one of the like cursed women that was the same as the other 3 women from the first 3 books. But they thought she died at the end of book 1 when the motorcycle club came in and like tried to save everybody. Well, they just kind of relocated her. She didn't die. And so now she's been found by this cult again, and they brought her there to marry the prophet, which is the evil twin. And so he starts trying to come up with this plan to save her, which he does. He gets her out. He ends up like somehow taking the place of the twin brother for just the day that the wedding is supposed to be, when the girl is supposed to be marrying the brother. He ends up getting her out and taking her to the motorcycle club and convincing them that he like didn't realize what all was happening, and even though he was told, it was hard for him to understand. But he convinces the motorcycle club to let him go back to the cult to try to save as many people as possible before they come in and kill all the people who are actually responsible for the bad things that the cult has done. But when he gets back, they've realized what he's done. They kind of imprison him again, but they like put him out in this big open area and call all the people to it. And that was a very hard scene to read. It's not overly graphic, but you can definitely tell that they are doing this mass, I don't know what word YouTube will let me say, but they know that somebody is coming to save all of these people, and so they don't let the people get that opportunity. Yeah, it wasn't an overly graphic scene, but it was very hard to read about. I was trying to listen to the audiobook, but once it started getting kind of close to that and I could tell what was coming, I didn't want to hear it. So I got the ebook and kind of read through that part at least. So yeah, this one had a lot to do with the religious cult and trying to save people from that and being unable to save people from that. And then he went back to the motorcycle club who he had also betrayed, and it was dealing with that and dealing with that punishment, and yeah. So I gave this one 4 stars, but like I said, I don't know that I can recommend this book. It was difficult. I don't know how else to describe it. So yeah, that is my September wrap up. For the second time for me, and looking at this timer, I did talk a lot more than I thought that I would. So yeah, if you've read any of these, let me know down below what you thought about them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!